Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Who is this beautiful woman? Who is this incredible person next to me? Yes, someone you've seen many times before, my amazing friend, Yuriria Robles. Now, Yuriria has a couple of things I wanted to share with you. One is Synchronicity Publications. She and I are co-writing a book together on Mayan astrology. It is her wisdom, it is her knowledge, and then it's me putting my own English language spin on her words. And then there's also going to be a Spanish language version as well. And right now, as this video is going out, advanced sales are available, and I will link to that below. The other amazing thing that Yuriria is going to be doing is she is going to be speaking at the upcoming conference for Synchronicity University and the London School of Astrology. This is a celebration of Astrologies from around the world, international speakers over one Autumn Equinox weekend. It's going to be a huge party. If you use code SU50, you get 50% off. And again, I will link to that below as well. Yuriria, thank you for being here.
You're such an amazing friend, and you know I love you, and I thank with all my heart about this opportunity, because sharing about this is to the world, which you opened the door for me. I think it's very important for all of us to understand much more about the symbolism of astrology.
Mm-hmm.
This will help us a lot, I think.
Yes, and I love that you are one of the most renowned experts in the world on Mayan astrology. I love that. I love that I get to be a part of people knowing about Mayan astrology, because Mayan spirituality is part of what called me to this country.
Yes.
And why I have made it home. Well, it's one among many reasons that I have made it home for 8.5 years. And you are a part of my Mexican family,
yes, we're sisters. Sí.
Hermana mexicana, I always say. And astrologa también. Sí. Okay, I appreciate that I speak Spanglish with Yuriria. And so I'm going to try to keep it to English, because I throw in a little bit of that Spanish and she gets it. She understands me. That's the really special thing.
Thank you.
Okay, but yes, talk about Mayan astrology. Talk about first the book, because that is something that is going to be coming out later this year, which is very exciting. Why should Western astrologers care about Mayan astrology?
Well, I think we should learn and enrich our language, astrological language, and understanding different cultures of the world and how they see the heavens and their relationship to nature and humans can enrich us a lot more about symbolism, about understanding the relationship of the different, let's explain, either constellations or houses, if you want, of the heavens and the earth, and how people use different numbers to understand heaven. And we have to understand something very important, that they saw the sky. And as modern astrologers, sometimes we forget, because we are looking all the time at a chart, at a computer.
Yes.
And so we consult as if it were an oracle. So the Mayans, with their insistence on heavens and stars, they look very much to the constellations and the places of the moon and the sun, how up was the sun, etc. And also Venus is very special, to even Mercury. So they look at the planets to see what was going to happen. And that's our business, to see what's going to happen. I know it's anti-modern, but our science is way millennial, so we have to recoup that, I think.
Yes, and recoup the wisdom of Mayan astrology. And it's interesting, because the Mayans looked at the constellations and they associated different animals with the constellations. Now the book, the English language version of the book, has the Mayan sun signs, but then it also has Mayan compatibility.
Yes.
So a couple of questions come to mind. Why is it that Mayan sun signs are 13 sun signs, because you and I have talked about how when I've researched Mayan astrology, some say 19 signs, some say 23. I mean, there's just so many numbers out there. But you are one of the most renowned experts in the world. You've identified 13 sun signs.
Yes, that's true. You must understand that I've been studying Mayan culture since 1985. You do the math. I was just born, also 1985.
You were timeless.
Yes. So I researched the original books. I didn't invent anything to tell you something to complete it. I've been slow to publish with this because I researched all the original codexes, the very early colonial codexes, and I've been also to different sites searching for the astrological signs. So if we don't understand that, and people come from other fields of study, say archaeologists or say historians, they don't understand the mechanics of the heaven. So the Mayans did have this 13 as a base number because they saw 13 moons in a cycle of the sun. And they counted 13 as the basis for the cycles of Mercury, the cycles of Venus, the cycles of all the planets. The only planet that had a problem with that, and they solve it by multiplication, is with Jupiter, because the Jupiter is in say its synodical cycle is almost 400 days, but because it's 398, so they rounded at 400. So they mixed the Jupiter with all the 13s that were the basis of all the other signs, synodical signs. So that's why they chose, I think, to divide the heavens in 13 places.
And so when you say, when you say codex, what do you mean by codex? That's like a book, wisdom.
There are only 3 surviving books, Mayan original books. They are copies from ancient ones, but they are pre-colonial. They have hieroglyphics. And the source of the 13 signs comes from one that it was found again, because all these were smuggled out of the country. A lot of them, actually, they say thousands, but I think not that many were burned here in the colonial. But 3 were smuggled out of the country. So one is in Dresden, one is in Paris, and one is in Madrid. There, in the Paris Codex, there is a table of eclipses. You can count the eclipses. And there you see our 13 signs hanging from the heavens, from the eclipse of the sun and the moon. So that's the source from where I learned from my teacher way back 1985. He was a scholar and from the Mayan area, but he was not an astrologer. But he taught me about these signs, and we discussed a lot of astrology. I came to be an astrologer a few years later, many years ago as well. So I understood what he explained to me. So the 13 signs come from that study he made and that reconstruction he made about the signs.
So each of the signs is based on an animal that they've associated different qualities with. So when people get the book and they look up their Mayan sun sign,
will recognize their sun sign.
Yes, and they'll be able to see themselves and characteristics of themselves, how the Mayans understood that animal and what it says about them, but also what they're like in love, for example, as well.
In love, and also in the sense that what is their best characteristic to relate to, not only to one side, but for all the sides. And we can apply that compatibility with love and with friends as well, or family, or even the people that are near us.
Yes, because the second part of the book is compatibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking at how the different signs, also known as animals, get along with each other. So
Exactly.
people can look up their relationships with their families, but also with their lovers or partners or friends, everybody. Yes, yes.
And they are the Mayans were very intelligent people, I think. And they had a very deep understanding of nature. And they really looked at animals. And it's funny because in the Chilean Balam, one says that the gods were hang the animals from the heavens, so we, the humans, could understand or receive the lessons from the animals. So it's very clear, it's a constellation. They say it clearly. And in the vases and all the sculptures and even the reliefs that you find in all the Mayan cities, which one day we will invite everybody to visit.
Yes.
You can find this knowledge of understanding and integration to the nature from the Mayan culture. And it's not the scholars doubt or are very, the scholars, I mean archaeologists and the historians, are very careful about astrologers. They don't understand our language. It's not that they were fatalistic or they were superstitious. They were just knowledgeable people that understood the cycles of heaven and the cycles of earth. And they could apply that knowledge to themselves. And we must also understand that in the Mayan sites, even the peninsula where they were, or even all the way to Honduras and Central America, the land was very scarce. The rains were not that reliable. And the heat or the humidity, sometimes the dryness and sometimes humidity, put a lot of pressure on them. So they were very keen observers of nature. And that's what the astrology is saying about them. And they pick up the names of these animals they really honored. Because in the nowadays, the deciphering of the glyphs, they have found people that fought each other. From my point of view, they fought each other for food. But they used these names as honoring names. Say, for example, the jaguar is there, the hawk is there, the owl is there, the bat is there, as honorary titles. So it's saying a lot about the symbolism that the Mayans were picking up from the land.
And it's interesting because you're talking about these extremes in weathers, and I was thinking about how so many of these ancient sites, these pyramids that you find all over Mexico and Central America and beyond, they are aligned with the equinoxes. And the equinoxes represent balance, equal. When you go to places like Europe, they're aligned with the solstices, which represent greater extremes. So it's very interesting that here I found that it says a lot about the spirituality of a people in their understanding of the need for balance and honoring balance with these pyramids.
Yeah, the land was very demanding on them. And they knew that if they were abusing in a way, they will pay the price. But I find that all through Mexico, from the prehistorical carvings in stones and markers, they built up the knowledge that came to full fruition in the Mayan place. And then it came back to the Mexico area around Mexico City, to the Aztecs. But the whole culture used the 13 as a sign. So they say heavens. The historians and archaeologists have understood it as levels of heavens, but they are actually constellations. And they use the calculations for a solar year, 360. They knew perfectly well it's 365. But they adjusted to the main planet. For them, the main planet, in the sense of abundance, is of course Jupiter.
Mhm.
And the main planet for governing not only the people but oneself is Venus.
Mhm.
So this relationship is very important. The thing is that we will understand in the book, when you read it, all the characteristics that you can um, cultivate and take care from this point of view. Because it's not the same if you have claws, say for example the hawk or the jaguar, than if you have big ears like the rat.
Mhm.
So they have different nuances for the personality, and of course some were preferred in before than now, no? Because we are not so that close to nature, but we do act like that.
Mhm.
So there's a lot to learn about that way of knowing.
And we're not that close to nature in terms of our modern urban lives, but we are instinctual in many
Exactly.
ways.
Exactly.
And we are very deeply connected to nature because we are natural at our very foundation. And so these animals end up being important characteristics of us or being a reflection of us, just like the sky is a reflection of us, because we are part of the natural world as well in terms of who we are at our very foundation. And so Mayan astrology represents this, reflects this. And so now we've got these 13 Mayan signs, but then how the animals relate to each other says something about compatibility for us as well, that reflection.
See, so it's very important to recognize oneself and understand at least in the sense of the sun, that there are characteristics that you must cultivate, and there are others that you need to take care of. So, say for example,
to honor yourself. Yes.
Because for example, the jaguar sign. The jaguar is is a powerful animal.
The jaguar.
The jaguar.
Oh yes.
Jaguar. Is a powerful animal of the jungle.
Yes.
So there are still
very revered here, very
absolutely.
Loved. Yes. You see art with jaguars.
Exactly.
Yes.
So he was very powerful. But as a sun sign, it has a characteristic that has to be listened to, attended. And I explain it like this: the jaguar used to hunt going to the head. The bite goes to the head of the prey, right? So the sign of the jaguar is always going to the intelligence of the people. Very straightforward.
Okay, so the book covers Mayan sun signs, Mayan compatibility between the sun signs, Mayan wisdom. I'm really excited about that and so proud that Synchronicity Publications is going to be giving that to the world later on this year. But you are also going to be teaching with an upcoming conference with the London School of Astrology and Synchronicity University. And this is a weekend conference, Astrologies, and a celebration of astrologies over the Autumn Equinox weekend. And you will be teaching on Mayan astrology.
I will.
So
I'm so looking forward.
Me too. I'm so excited that you're doing this. Thank you for agreeing to do this. So what are you going to be teaching about?
Well, I will be teaching about the signs and how to handle them. We will we will cover them all, especially in the sense, not on describing at length, but mainly in the sense of how they relate to each other. As I was explaining, what about the signs that have claws? What are their special qualities? And what are the main challenges they have to relate to each other? We will be talking about that. And a little bit about the view they have about the relationship between them in the sense of the previous one and the following. So we will start teaching them.
Oh, so isn't that interesting? Like each of the signs come in a particular order.
Yes.
So just like in Western astrology, we have the signs like following the seasons and like cardinal, fixed, mutable, for example. The Mayans as well understood the animals following each other as they do for a reason also.
Exactly. And when they are in, say, for example, what we understand in opposition, they also have this knowledge and they are very clear about it. When I say very clear, you must know that I took the delineations from the Mayan culture, from the stories, from the legends, from the fables. So I found very clear legends. Say, for example, you would say that the jaguar is not afraid of the deer, which is approximately in 180 degrees. But now the legend goes, the fable goes, that they have big confrontation and the deer manages to surprise the jaguar so much so that he was scared to death and he ran away from the deer because the deer is very dangerous, he said. Because the deer was very intelligent. So they have this relationship, not as we would think about prey and food, but mainly as the way of behaving. So that's what we will be talking about.
And so we can understand something about how if I'm a deer and someone else is another animal, how that can show up.
Exactly.
Yes, that can be so exciting to explore. And so you'll be talking about Mayan astrology, some of the background, and helping us to get a little bit of an introduction into the different Mayan signs and compatibility.
Yes.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so too. You will love it. You will see. The Mayans have a very special Mayan magic with them. And I'm sure you will also begin to recognize the presence of these animals, constellations, in the sculpture, in the vases, in ceramics.
Yes.
In the reliefs, in the sites you visit next time you're in Cancun.
Yes, or in anywhere in Mexico, because all over Mexico they have these beautiful ancient cities.
Exactly, and the animals do vary a little bit because there are not the same birds or the same. For example, here in the near Mexico City, and when it was a lake, we didn't have jaguars, but we did have coyotes. So they changed the animal, but still the essence of the relationship is there. So we will begin exploring them. We will go on.
Yes, we will always go on. There's always more to go. There's always a more profound level to get to. Thank you, Yuriria. I love you so much.
Thank you.
Oh
I love you too.
This is one of my very favorite people in the world. This is also one of the most brilliant astrologers in the world. One of the very few people who has seen my chart and given me readings and that I know can give me a perspective that I need. And I just appreciate you so much. And I'm so very excited and grateful that people are going to get to gain some insights into your wisdom and the wisdom of the Maya through your work and through us working together and sharing it together. It's very exciting.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. You know, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's an honor for me being your friend. And the opportunity is a gift of a lifetime. So thank you very much.
Oh, I love you and you deserve it. And this is wisdom and information that needs to be out there. So very grateful that we get to do this together.
So let's hope we transmit this to everybody so they can enjoy the magic as well.
Yes, the magic of Mayan wisdom and Mayan astrology. Thank you so much for being here. I will link information below to the conference, to the book, and so much more. Truly grateful for you. And until we connect again, take care. Bye.
Bye.